Nikola Jokic's loyalty might end up costing him more than people want to admit. That is the real point here. Everybody loves loyalty when it sounds nice and clean. Everybody praises it when a superstar stays with one team, keeps his head down, avoids drama, and gives everything to the city that believed in him first. Fans love that story because it feels rare now. It feels pure. It feels like the kind of thing the league does not have enough of anymore. And Jokic has become one of the best examples of that. He has stayed in Denver, he has kept winning, he has kept working, and he has never acted like he was too big for the team or the city. But the deeper question is not whether loyalty sounds good. The deeper question is whether loyalty always gives a player the best chance to become everything he could be. And when you look at Jokic right now, that question gets very serious very fast. Jokic has already done more than enough to prove who he is. He is not trying to become great. He already is great. He is already one of the best players of his time. He has the MVPs, he has the title, he has the finals run, and he has the kind of game that makes even elite players look lost. He controls games without playing like anyone else. He does not need to jump the highest, run the fastest, or scream the loudest. He sees things early, he makes the right read almost every time, and he breaks teams down with patience more than force. That is what makes him special. He can score, pass, rebound, lead, settle the team down, and punish mistakes over and over again. So when you have a player like that, the only thing left to ask is simple. Is the team around him giving him enough to keep winning at the highest level? That is where loyalty becomes dangerous, because loyalty sounds beautiful until the team around you starts falling short. Then it stops being a sweet story and starts becoming a serious gamble. Then it becomes a question of whether staying true to one team is helping your legacy or quietly holding it back. Jokic has shown Denver everything. He brought them a championship. He turned them into a real power. He gave the franchise the greatest run in its history. But now the pressure is different. Now it is no longer about whether he can reach the top once. Now it is about whether Denver can stay there with him. And if they cannot, then Jokic's loyalty will stop looking like a great strength and start looking like the very thing that may keep him from getting more. The truth is, the NBA does not reward loyalty by itself. The NBA rewards the right setup. It rewards timing. It rewards front offices that make the right moves. It rewards teams that know when to spend, when to trade, when to develop, and when to go all in. A player can be loyal all he wants, but if the people around him do not keep the team strong enough, then that loyalty becomes a trap. That is the harsh part many people do not want to say out loud. Fans love telling stars to stay loyal, but fans are not the ones whose prime is on the line. Fans are not the ones whose career gets measured by rings, deep playoff runs, and all-time ranking talks. Players live with those results forever, and when a player is as great as Jokic, every year matters even more. What makes Jokic's case stand out is that his loyalty does not feel fake. It does not feel like something he says just to sound good. It feels real. It feels like he truly values his life in Denver. He sounds at peace there. He sounds comfortable there. He sounds like someone who actually likes where he is, not just as a player, but as a man. That matters. In a league full of drama, noise, and non-stop movement, Jokic has felt steady. He has never looked like he wanted the spotlight. He has never acted like he needed a bigger market. He has never turned every offseason into a guessing game. That makes people respect him even more. But respect and results are not always the same thing. A player can be respected for staying and still lose out on chances to win more because of it. And that is the fear here. Jokic may be too loyal for a league that moves too fast. He may be giving Denver more trust than the modern NBA allows, because this is not a league where you can just sit back and hope everything stays good. Windows close fast, teams age fast, injuries hit, contracts pile up, role players leave, young players take time. One year you look like the future of the league, and the next year people are asking if your window is closing. That is how brutal this league is, and that is why a player at Jokic's level cannot just count on things working themselves out. He needs the team around him to keep up with him. If they do not, his loyalty becomes a risk with every passing season. The hardest part about Jokic's greatness is that it makes every weakness around him stand out even more. When you are that good, people stop asking whether you are enough. They start asking whether everyone else is enough. And that is a fair question in Denver right now. Jokic still looks like the engine of a title team. He still looks like the kind of player who can take over a playoff series with his mind alone. But the team around him does not always feel that certain anymore. There are nights when the support looks strong, balanced, and dangerous. Then there are nights when it feels like Jokic is carrying too much. There are moments when the team looks connected, and then there are moments when it feels like too much is being asked from one man to fix everything. Jamal Murray is a huge part of this conversation. When Murray is right, Denver looks different. When he is healthy, sharp, and confident, he gives Jokic the kind of partner every superstar needs. He can make big shots, create under pressure, and give the offense another real threat. At his best, he changes the entire feeling of the team. But the problem is not whether Murray can be great. The problem is whether he can be great enough, often enough, and at the right times. That is what separates a very good second option from a truly elite one. Jokic does not need flashes. Jokic needs dependable help. He needs a second force that lightens the load in the biggest moments, not just here and there, but across full playoff runs. That is where the pressure on Denver becomes serious. Because when your best player is already doing everything, the front office cannot afford to be casual. They cannot afford to act like the championship they won is enough forever. They cannot afford to believe Jokic will just figure it out every year no matter what. That is unfair to him. Greatness should be supported, not tested over and over again. The Nuggets cannot keep asking Jokic to be the answer to every problem while the roster around him stays imperfect. At some point, if the team does not grow with him, then staying loyal stops looking noble and starts looking costly. We have seen this kind of story before. Damian Lillard gave years and years to Portland. He stayed loyal, he believed, he kept showing up. He gave that team his best years, his best moments, and his full trust. And what did it lead to? Great memories, yes. Respect? Yes. Amazing shots? Yes. But not the kind of ending that matches a player of that level. His loyalty became the reason people admired him, but it also became part of the reason people felt his career was missing something. That is the danger with staying too long in a situation that never fully catches up to your greatness. You become a symbol of loyalty, but maybe at the cost of becoming everything you could have been. Allen Iverson is another name that comes to mind. Reggie Miller too. These are players people respect deeply. These are players who gave cities their hearts. But when history remembers them, it also remembers what they did not get. It remembers how close they came without finishing the job. It remembers that they stayed, but it also remembers that staying did not lead to the highest reward. That is the part fans do not like to sit with. Loyalty is praised in speeches, but when careers are judged, people count titles first. They count rings, finals wins, and how many times you stood at the top when it was all over. Then you have the other side of it. Kobe Bryant stayed, but the Lakers got it right around him more than once. Stephen Curry stayed, but Golden State built a machine around him that kept feeding his greatness. Those stories are often used to sell the dream of loyalty. People point to them and say, "See, staying works." But what they miss is that loyalty did not win those championships by itself. The organization did. The timing did. The smart moves did. The strong system did. Kobe was loyal, but he also had an organization that found the talent, made the moves, and gave him a chance to keep winning. Curry was loyal, but he also had a team that built one of the best systems of the era. That is the difference. Loyalty only becomes legendary when the team around it keeps doing its job. That is why Jokic's situation feels so important right now, because he is standing right in the middle of that line. He already has enough success to say his career is special. Nobody can take that away. But he is also clearly good enough to win more. And that is where the tension comes from. This is not a case where a player is past his best and just trying to hold on. Jokic is still in that zone where more is possible. More titles are possible. More finals runs are possible. More years as the best player in the world are possible. So if Denver does not fully maximize that, the loss will feel bigger. It will not just be a team falling short. It will be an all-time great not getting all the chances he should have had. There is also something else here that matters. Jokic does not seem obsessed with chasing rings in the loud way some other stars are. He does not speak like a man trying to build a perfect image. He does not move like someone who wants to control the whole conversation around him. He feels different. He feels grounded. He feels like a player who genuinely values peace, family, routine, and comfort. That makes him easy to respect, but it also makes him easier to take for granted. Because when a superstar is not making demands, not stirring drama, and not threatening to leave, teams can start acting too safe. They can start assuming he will stay no matter what. They can start making smaller moves instead of bold ones. And that is exactly what cannot happen with a player like Jokic. A quiet superstar is still a superstar. A loyal star still needs urgency around him. In some ways, Jokic's calm nature puts even more pressure on Denver's front office to act with purpose. He is not going to shout his way into headlines. He is not going to create chaos just to force changes. So the people in charge have to be smart enough to see what is happening before it becomes too late. They have to understand that having a loyal superstar is not a reason to relax. It is a reason to move faster and more carefully, because that kind of player is rare. When you have the best player in the world and he wants to be with you, that is not something you waste. The scary part is that loyalty can slowly turn into isolation without people noticing it right away. At first, it looks like stability. Then it starts to look like one man carrying too much while everyone praises his patience. Jokic is so good that he can make imperfect situations look better than they really are. He can cover problems, he can lift players, he can settle games, he can hide flaws through his brilliance. But in the playoffs, against the best teams, those flaws eventually show up. That is what makes the postseason so cruel. It reveals what is real. And if Denver keeps leaning on Jokic to solve everything, there may come a point where even he cannot hold it all together. That does not mean Denver is hopeless. It does not mean the story is already finished in a bad way. It just means the warning signs are real. Jokic's loyalty is admirable, but admiration is not enough. The Nuggets still have time to prove that staying with them will keep leading to the biggest rewards. They still have time to show that their championship was not the peak, but the start of something longer. But time is not endless in this league. Great players do not stay in their absolute best form forever. Windows feel wide open until suddenly they are not. And that is why every season around Jokic matters so much. You do not get many chances with a player like this. You do not get many years where the best player alive is on your roster and willing to stay loyal through it all. And if Denver fails to build the right team around him, the conversation years from now is going to be painful. People will look back and say Jokic gave them everything. They will say he was loyal, patient, and brilliant. They will say he made the city matter in a bigger way than ever before. But they will also ask whether he should have had more. They will ask whether one title was enough for a player of that level. They will ask whether staying in one place kept him from stacking a legacy that could have reached even higher. That is the risk. That is what this all comes down to. Not whether Jokic is loyal, because he clearly is. The real issue is whether that loyalty will be rewarded enough. In the NBA, legacies are not built only on what kind of man you were. They are built on what you won, how often you won, and how long your greatness stayed at the top. Fair or unfair, that is how this works. Nobody forgets loyalty, but they do not rank it the same way they rank championships. When the debates start years later, the first thing people bring up is rings. The first thing they bring up is how many times a player finished the job. So for Jokic, this is bigger than just staying true to Denver. It is about whether Denver can match the level of commitment he has already shown them. Maybe the Nuggets do get it right again. Maybe they make the right moves, find the right balance, and turn this into another title run. Maybe Jokic's story becomes one of those rare ones where loyalty and winning stay together all the way through. That is possible. He is good enough for that. The foundation is still there for that. But if it goes the other way, if the support never fully rises again, if the roster keeps falling just short, then people will start saying what many are already thinking now. They will start saying Jokic's loyalty may have cost him more championships, more glory, and an even greater place in history. And that is what makes this so fascinating. Jokic is doing the thing people say they want stars to do. He is staying. He is trusting. He is not running from the hard parts. He is giving one team everything. That should be celebrated. But in the NBA, the truth is not always romantic. Sometimes the player who stays becomes the player who sacrifices the most. Sometimes the player who gives the most trust is also the player who carries the most risk. Jokic may be building one of the most respected careers of this era, but respect alone does not close the gap between what is and what could have been. Right now, Nikola Jokic is standing in that exact space. He has already won enough to be remembered forever, but he is still good enough to win much more. That is why this next part of his career matters so much. If Denver keeps up, his loyalty becomes part of a legendary story. If Denver falls behind, that same loyalty becomes the reason people wonder how much more he should have had. And that is the harsh truth. Loyalty can make a player beloved. But if the team does not hold up its end, loyalty can also cost a player everything that was still left on the table. So when people praise Jokic for staying in Denver, they are not wrong. He deserves that praise. But praise is only the beginning. The real question is whether the Nuggets deserve that same loyalty back in the form of smart moves, strong support, and a team good enough to keep his prime from slipping away. Because Jokic has done his part. He has done more than his part. Now the pressure is on Denver. And if they do not answer it the right way, then one of the greatest players we have ever seen may end his career with a legacy that feels incredible, but still somehow not complete. It's part of a legendary story. If Denver falls behind, that same loyalty becomes the reason people wonder how much more he should have had. And that is the harsh truth. Loyalty can make a player beloved. But if the team does not hold up its end, loyalty can also cost a player everything that was still left on the table. So when people praise Jokic for staying in Denver, they are not wrong. He deserves that praise. But praise is only the beginning. The real question is whether the Nuggets deserve that same loyalty back in the form of smart moves, strong support, and a team good enough to keep his prime from slipping away. Because Jokic has done his part, he has done more than his part. Now the pressure is on Denver, and if they do not answer it the right way, then one of the greatest players we have ever seen may end his career with a legacy that feels incredible, but still somehow not complete.